All right, we are going to do chapter 19 of Black Beauty. It's called Jakes and the Lady. I was sold to a corn dealer and baker. Jerry knew the man and thought I would be fed well and not overworked. He was right about the food, and he would have been right about the workload too if my master were always watching over me. But many times when I already had a full load, the foreman would order something else to be taken along. My stableman Jakes often said I carried too much, but the foreman said there was no use making 2 trips when we could do it in 1. Jakes always had the bearing ring up. After 3 or 4 months, I could tell it was doing its worst to me. One day, I was loaded up more than usual, and part of the road was a steep hill. I used all my strength, but I still couldn't make it. I had to keep stopping. This did not please my driver, and he hit me with his whip badly. "Get going, you lazy fellow," he said, "or I will make you." Again, I started the heavy load up the hill. I struggled for a few yards, and the whip hit me again. What hurt the worst, though, was doing my very best and still being punished for it. Finally, the driver began hitting me harder and harder, and he wouldn't stop. A lady passerby stepped up to him and pleaded in a sweet voice, "Oh, do not whip your good horse any more. I am sure he is doing all he can, and the road is very steep. I am sure he is doing his best." "If he is doing his best, then he needs to try harder," said Jakes. "But isn't that a heavy load for a horse?" she asked. "Yes, too heavy," he said, "but that's not my fault. The foreman came just as we were starting, putting on 300 more pounds. I must get on with it." He was raising the whip again when the woman cried out, "Stop, I think I can help you if you let me." The man laughed. "You see," she said, "he can't use all his power with his head held back in that bearing rein. If you would take it off, I am sure he would do better." "Please try," she said. "I would be very happy if you would." "Well," said Jakes, "anything to please a lady. How far do you want it down, ma'am?" "All the way down." The rein was taken off, and in a moment I put my head to my knees. How comfortable it was! Then I tossed it up and down several times to get the stiffness out of my neck. "Poor fellow, that is what you wanted," she said, patting me with her gentle hand. "And now I believe he will do better for you." Jakes took the rein. "Come on, Blackie." I put my head down and threw all my weight against the collar. I used all my strength and carried that load up the hill. The lady had walked alongside us. "You see, he did exactly what you wanted once you gave him the chance. You won't put that rein on him again, will you?" "Well, ma'am," Jake said, "he did better without it once I took it off, and I can promise you the next time he has a heavy load, I will take it off again. But I couldn't let him go without one on all the time. It's the style, you know." Wouldn't you rather start a great fashion than try to follow a bad one? A lot of gentlemen don't use bearing reins now. Our carriage horses have not worn them for 15 years. They don't get as tired as the ones that have them. Besides, she added gravely, we have no right to harm any of God's creatures, do we? They can't talk to us, but it doesn't mean they don't feel pain. Well, thank you for trying my plan. I'm sure you will find this trick far better than using the whip. Good day now." And with that, the lady gave me another soft pat on the neck, and then stepped lightly out of my path. I didn't see her again. Now, that was a real lady, Jake said to himself. She spoke as polite as if I were a rich gentleman, and I will try it her way, at least when we are going uphill. I must say that, from that day on, he always loosened the reins for hills, but my loads were still heavy. I got so weary from my work that a younger horse was bought in my place. Instead of being put to work, I was left in my cramped stable, with only one small window at the end. This left me lonesome, and also weakened my eyesight. When I was suddenly brought out into the daylight, it was very painful to my eyes. Several times I stumbled and could hardly see where I was going. I believe I would have stayed there much longer. I would have gone totally blind. Thank goodness I escaped without injury and was soon sold to a large cab owner.